Now, immediately after landing, maybe not so much. After you've been in space for 5 months, your neck doesn't even have to hold up your head. It's even more relaxing than laying in bed. So you got to get used to gravity again. You got to get used to walking in a straight line. So it took a little while to get to that point, but we feel great.
Yeah, it takes a while, and Tom's a medical doctor, so he's really watching it closely. We both lost some bone. We lost about 5% of our weight-bearing bone. You lose your ability to balance, your blood pressure doesn't regulate. There's a lot of changes, but it's been 6 or 7 weeks, and heck, we're well enough now to come to Canada Day, so we're doing okay.
All right. So one question that came from the web, and I think it's a good way to start. It's from GS Saul. Please tell me, what is the most impressive perception you have about each other?
The most impressive perception we have about each other. Tom is the only guy I know who can be absolutely furiously pissed off, just so irritated with something, and when he talks to you, you swear that you are doing him a favor. This is the nicest guy. If you were going to get in a spaceship and lock yourself in a small place for 5 or 6 months, you want to fly with Dr. Tom Marshburn. That's what I would say.
And the commander you want to have on that spacecraft is Chris Hadfield, no doubt about it. I've flown with 3 Canadians in space, so it's been a great honor for me, certainly, to be able to explore the universe with all of them. However, with Chris Hadfield, there's one thing that actually kind of makes everybody mad in the astronaut corps, because there is nothing that Chris does that he's not really, really good at. Whether it's spacewalks or flying the Canadarm2 or even commanding a spacecraft. He's pretty much good at everything, and that is the one thing that is very impressive about him.
So you don't care much about his music and his voice? All right. Une question en français d'un jeune garçon, Luc, 6 ans. Comment on fait pour amener de l'air dans l'espace?
D'avoir de l'air dans l'espace. C'est important d'avoir de l'air dans l'espace. Et l'oxygène, c'est la plus importante partie de l'air. Nous avons un système pour rafraîchir de l'air dans la station, mais comme vous savez, c'est nécessaire d'apporter juste un peu toujours. Et donc, chaque vaisseau spatial qui arrive avec la station apporte une portion, peut-être un casque ou une bouteille d'air, d'oxygène. Normalement, pas seulement l'air, le nitrogène et tout ça, non, mais juste l'oxygène. Et c'est nécessaire. Et c'est nécessaire de savoir les systèmes pour voyager plus loin de l'orbite, peut-être vers la Lune ou vers Mars. C'est nécessaire de savoir comment on peut fermer totalement l'atmosphère de la station, de le vaisseau. Mais maintenant, on apporte de l'oxygène de la Terre vers la station chaque 6 semaines.
So how is that done? Technically, I mean, is it another rocket that goes up?
We have a resupply ship that comes up about every 6 weeks. Japanese, American, Russian, or European. And they bring resupply, and they also bring a little bit of oxygen with them, because even though we recycle the atmosphere on board, we have to have a little bit of oxygen to refill all the time. So every ship that comes up every month and a half or so brings food, water, clean clothes, experiments, and oxygen.
So all kinds of questions about science, and that might be a bit complicated for all of us, but some funny question as well, but also some deep question. So Lenny Murphy asked, what is the single most lasting impression you have from your time in space? Tom?
There are so many times when especially when you're looking out the window of the space station, you say, I will never forget this. There is one time, however, when Chris and I were at the window on a night pass. We were flying over Asia. We're circling the Earth every hour and a half. So it only takes us about 5 minutes to get out over the Pacific Ocean. And we're looking out at nighttime over the Pacific, completely black, when suddenly a lightning storm appeared, the flashing lights below. That lightning storm, it turned out, must have extended several thousand miles because for many minutes we were sitting there watching a lightning storm going on below us. The incredible energy and the power of the nature of the Earth is very evident when you see lightning storms. This is the largest one I had ever seen from space as well, and that's something we'll never forget, particularly because we shared it.
The two of us up there together just like hitting each other going, look at that! The whole Earth was like alive with lightning bolts that were the size of, the size of cities. I mean, it was just spectacular. And we were really hoping that we could get other people there to see it with us. It was just so magnificently, effortlessly powerful. The world is a beautiful thing to look at from the space station.
And better when you can share it with your crewmates.
Well, you know what? As I look in front, there's a lot of kids with their eyes wide open. But I feel the two of you are like kids. Am I wrong? Now, here's another question. When you came back to Earth, did you ever accidentally drop an object thinking it would float due to spending so much time in the ISS? That's a good question. It comes from Rory McCurdy.
On my first space flight, we landed in the space shuttle. I stood up, and another astronaut stood up next to me, and he had a video camera. And it was a time when video camera had tapes. And he took out the tape, and he floated it to me. And the tape went, fell on the ground. And the two of us stood there like extras in a Japanese horror movie, like Godzilla. Both of us went, ooh. Picked it up and stood back up again, and both of us felt foolish. But yeah, when I first came back, yeah, you forget, and you drop stuff.
Yeah, I thought I was doing pretty well, being able to walk a straight line, but then you go to shake someone's hand and completely miss their hand. That happened a number of times. It took a while.
This is amazing. Une question en français. So I'm going to ask it in French, in English first, so that people understand the question, then in French. Dreaming, because you sleep when you're up there. The type of dream, because if you remember your dream, what type of dream do you make, and is it different from the dreams you could make on Earth? Alors la question qui nous vient de Rachel Lefrançois, qui est peut-être avec nous autres parce que la question a été posée ce matin. Quel genre de rêve fut le plus commun pendant votre séjour dans l'espace? Okay, so English answer from Tom, and then Chris will translate in French.
Actually, on this space station, we were really busy. If there are any doctors out there, it's much like being in a residency. You don't get much sleep, so I slept pretty hard and didn't dream a lot. But on the shuttle, before I did some spacewalks, had a very distinct dream. It was a little bit horrifying at the time, but before I did the spacewalk, dreaming of floating outside the space station, but not in a spacesuit, just doing a slow tumble. So it really got me all set up, ready to go, to be very careful outside the space station when we did do a spacewalk.
Je vais essayer de traduire. Ce qu'il a dit, c'était que la première fois qu'il a volé dans l'espace, c'était dans la navette. Dans la station, nous étions tellement occupés, donc pas beaucoup de temps peut-être rêver, mais dans la navette, la première fois, il a fait des sorties extravéhiculaires, il a marché libre dans l'espace. Il a eu un rêve d'être là, mais sans le scaphandre, tout nu dans l'espace. Et après ça, il a pris attention absolument chaque pas après l'autre pour savoir qu'il n'y aura aucun problème avec le scaphandre après un rêve comme ça.
This is good. Now, we all know about Star Trek, Star Wars, and we see those very comfortable station, you know, and you look like you were like in a submarine, I guess, in a way, huh? So here's a question. Do you envisage, is that how we say in English, yeah? A future when astronauts will spend most of their adult lives searching for and developing new habitats for the human race? Is the exploration of outer space viable and physically achievable in search of a new home where science fact will
That's a big question.
Now, sure is.
Right now, we are like the very first people getting in a canoe and trying to get out of sight of the shore of the lake, or the first person getting in a boat and trying to sail out of sight of the land. We're just that way in space. It's really, really early. And so to talk about going to other planets, it's so far and so hard and so risky. Eventually, of course, we will. But if you'd asked the first person that got into a boat and went out into Lake Ontario and paddled out so far that they couldn't see the shore anymore, I mean, that was a big, big moment. Now it seems like nothing, but we're just in that early perspective building stage. Eventually, we will, but we need to invent something better than a sailboat and a canoe. In space parlance, we need to invent better engines and better power supplies. And when we invent those are things that we use on Earth also. You know, we need to carry all that stuff together. And then, of course, it'll be more like Star Trek and Star Wars, where we actually figure out how to control gravity so that space flight, just like travel across the Atlantic now, is part of normal daily life. Right now, what Tom and I did still is extremely risky, extremely complicated, and it's still very, very early. Eventually, but we need some people here, some of you guys sitting in the front row, to invent some things so that we can go faster and higher and safer.
Now, what about kids here? If you raise your hand, tell me who wants to become an astronaut. Est-ce qu'il y en a ici qui aimeraient devenir des astronautes? So we have two there with mustache. Can you stand up, the two of you? Look at this. Turn around. Chris Hadfield wannabes. Well, you know what? That's a good link to some of the funny questions. And actually, there's one from Michelle Long, and she says, and that's not for you, Tom. So you know we're talking about the mustache. Please list 3 benefits and 3 drawbacks of sporting a mustache, but let's add in space.
3 drawbacks and 3 benefits of having a mustache. Let's see. Well, having a mustache makes me better looking. That's what my wife tells me, so that's why I really have a mustache. Having a mustache is good because when you have soup, you still have something to eat later. Having a mustache is good because in the wintertime it warms up part of your face.
That's good.
Drawbacks of having a mustache. Your kids will mock you for your entire life if you have a mustache. Small girls wearing costumes will cover their upper lips at an international gathering and embarrass themselves just because I have a mustache.
Well, what about I did some scuba diving and just having a beard, sometimes it's difficult because air will go through. Is that a problem?
Maybe one of the advantages is a disadvantage, and that is sometimes when you have soup, you still have... Oh no, I know the real disadvantage. When you guys have been out on a cold winter day and your nose starts running, it's a bad time to have a mustache. That's 3 and 3.
All right, so we got a question this morning from Rhonda Lee Newell. What happens when you sneeze?
Actually, not what you would think. You can't sneeze. You can't burp in space, actually, but you can sneeze in space. I tried it once. I floated in the middle of the module, getting ready to sneeze, and I was expecting myself to spin around like a lawn sprinkler if I sneezed, but it didn't happen. It was a little bit disappointing. So sneeze is just kind of like a regular sneeze.
Yeah, sorry, it's true. We all tried it. In fact, we tried all of the gas expelling things up there. And none of them were all that propulsive, in case you're wondering.
It's a highly scientific process.
You gonna write something about this? Now, is there a book in the making, or always books in the making? So that means in your head it's always like doesn't stop. Okay, Karen Arononica asked this question: did you see any UFOs or something weird you couldn't explain, and are you bound by CSIS, FBI, CIA, KGB to keep your mouth shut?
You got that one.
I'm Canadian. I'm not bound by anybody. I can say whatever I want. the main reason we are in space is looking for other life. That's why we have rovers driving around on Mars. And they have found that Mars had water flowing on it for 1 million years or longer. So maybe there's life on Mars. We haven't found it yet, but we're looking. We have a telescope that stares at other stars, and we have found planets, thousands of planets around other stars, because we're looking for life. But we have not found life yet. We're looking. You know, that's what we're doing there. If we find it, we're not going to keep it a secret. That's what we're doing out there. So that, you know, to think that you know, that something traveled all the way across the universe and came here and found that we have semi-intelligent life and we're leaving the planet and we've been to the moon and we have a space station, I don't think their first action would be to abduct a farmer from Arkansas. Or to make a circle in a crop in England. I just don't think that's what would happen. So no, we are looking. And also, if you see an unidentified flying object, I'm not sure the first logical best conclusion is, well, I don't know what that is, so therefore it must have come from another galaxy and be orbiting around and sneaking around the world. It's a lot of television and wishful thinking. We want to find other life. We want to know if we're alone in the universe or not. But as much as we'd like to, as much as everyone would like to, and as much as science fiction would want us to, we haven't seen anything yet. We're looking.
Now, we did see some things we didn't understand. Some of it was these flashing lights coming off one of the sides of the space station. Turned out that was ammonia leaking from the side, and a couple days later we were doing a spacewalk to fix a leak. So, believe me, if we saw anything like that was real evidence of life, the loudest people talking about it would be the astronauts on the space station. No doubt about it.
Alors évidemment, on a été choyés pendant les 5 mois que Chris et Tom ont passé dans l'espace parce que Facebook, Twitter, toutes ces choses-là, ben, on a eu l'occasion de voir beaucoup d'images et d'avoir de l'information au quotidien. So if we talk about Facebook, Twitter and stuff like that, Tom, do you know what that is? Did you? Okay, so you tweeted a lot. Okay. So tell us a little bit about that, the preparation, especially like your son being involved. How much time in advance, or was it really like a day-to-day thing?
So here's how it works on the space station. When you get a free 5 minutes, you go to the window. You get one of the big cameras and you look for the land going by. And you take a picture of Ottawa. So you get a beautiful picture of Ottawa. Get a lovely picture of Ottawa. So you take out the card, you put it in your teeth, because you don't want the card to float away. Put another card in, set up the camera for the next guy, take the card out of your teeth, float over to your quarters, stick it in the computer, download the pictures and look at them. And a couple of them of Ottawa look really nice. The water's reflecting the light, or you can see both the Parliament buildings and the airport. You go, hey, that's a cool picture. So you write, I don't know, Ottawa glistens like the nation's jewel, or something like that. And then you send it to Earth. You just send it to Twitter. But then you also send it to your wife or your son. And Tom sent them to his wife and I sent them to my son. And then they would take that and also put it out on other places as well. Put it out on all the social media. And as a result of that, we shared our experience with millions of people all around the world. It was reported in the news, but what we saw, everybody saw. And then Tom and I made a bunch of videos, and I would take these goofy videos, a whole bunch of shots, send it down to the people at the Canadian Space Agency. They hired a really cool video editor, and she would take all of this stuff and clip it down into a 2-minute YouTube of how to cut your fingernails, or how to get a haircut, or how to go to the bathroom, and put those out as well. And so between my son and Tom's wife posting stuff to social media, and then everybody at the space agency cranking out the videos, we really don't want to keep this experience to ourselves. It is just too beautiful and wonderful, and that's why we did our best to share it with everybody.
I tried some of those things and it didn't work the same. Now we know in about 2 days, Chris, you won't be an astronaut anymore? Sure you will, okay. An astronaut forever and ever. But you're retiring from what you do right now.
No.
So what about you, Tom? Any projects of going back into space?
I'm going to be trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up still. So, but hopefully fly in space again. We'll see. There are a lot of people, very talented people, 2 Canadian astronauts who haven't flown in space yet. So it's going to be their turn to get in line. I'll get in line, but I'll be at the back of the line.
And we can adopt you. You can become a Canadian. No problem with that.
That would be great. It'd be wonderful.
So Chris, what about the next coming months? Years?
I joined the Canadian military when I was 18 years old, and I served 25 years in the Air Force. I was selected as an astronaut 21 years ago, and I've been serving as an astronaut since 1992. So when you put all that together, there was some overlap, but that's 35 years. I've had the same employer, and my wife and I decided a while ago, let's retire this summer and take some time, think about what to do next. For now, lots of people want to hear about the experience, and so I'll do some chance to speak about it and talk to people across the country. After Canada Day, I'm going out to Calgary as the Grand Marshal of the Calgary Stampede. Yahoo! And try and help out with the flood recovery out there. But I'll be doing public speaking. I'll still be working with the Canadian Space Agency to speak to schools all across the country. And then we're moving back to Canada after 27 years away, Russia and the United States. So once we get settled and been here a while, a year or two, and people are no longer interested in me just coming and talk, then I'll look to get a real job. But I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. We'll see.
Somebody said Prime Minister. Well, you've got some votes anyway. No pressure. You have a big day. You know, you've been with us for a few days because rehearsing for the show on the Hill as well, and you'll be performing tonight. So we won't take too much of your time. But I think the last question could be, to you and to Tom, when you're up there, you look at the Earth, it's a classic question that I think all astronauts here, you have a message to give to people living on Earth, and you know all the problems. What would you say, you know, to the people on this planet, this tiny planet, when you think about it?
You know, it's something a good number of astronauts say. It's such a deep, poignant thing to see your birthplace, the birthplace of the human race, right there in front of you, almost in its entirety, especially in an hour and a half seeing it all. And all of us have stated, I think, that have seen that view, have wished that the heads of state of all the countries around the world could fly up there, actually everyone, to fly up there and see that, and you see how incredibly fragile, first of all, our home is. You can hold your arm out, put your fingers apart by just 1 inch, and that's how thick the atmosphere is from 250 miles up in space. You cross a lot of water. You don't cross land very often. And even then, you don't see cities very often. So we have a very tenuous hold on this planet. We need to take care of it. And to really love this Mother Earth that we've come from. You also don't see any borders, and that's very significant as well, because we are one whole people here living on the Earth, and we need to be together to survive on it as well.
Tom and I were so incredibly lucky to live off the Earth for almost half a year. A huge privilege and a responsibility on behalf of so many people. And when you first get there, you sort of see where you're from. But after a month, after 2 months, you really see how each individual city, every light that shines in the darkness, that's just another one of us. That's just someone else trying to live a life, trying to raise their children, trying to find some grace, trying to do their absolute best with the circumstances they live in. It gave me a profound respect for everybody else on the planet and an absolutely overwhelming feeling of us. And when you take that feeling of shared humanity, and then you look back where Tom is from to the United States, or where I am from in Canada, you look at your own country a little differently. You really see what you do wrong, but you really see what you do right. And we, in the United States, where I've lived for 25 years, it is a great country. Tom is extremely proud of where he's from, and I have huge respect for Tom and for the United States of America. As a Canadian, I just have a tremendous love for where I'm from, and it was made much more real and more profound by seeing it so many times, seeing it from afar, and the chance to try and share it. And that's why, when I'm here right now, I just feel like I'm visiting with 100,000 of my best friends. That's what it feels like. So, it's a great experience, and it really is one that we work hard to share. So thanks for including us in part of your show today.
Well, this was an honor, wasn't it? Wow. Tom and your family, welcome to Canada. We hope that you are enjoying it. And this is the American Embassy right there, just in case you don't know. And it does look a little bit like, it could be a space shuttle or something, or a submarine, spaceship. So thank you so much for being here, and hope that the rest of Canada Day and the rest of your stay here will be joyful. Chris, what can we say more than this? So I don't know if everybody heard this. But the presentation was the 75th anniversary of the creation of Superman, the cartoon character. But like Ani said, you are our real Superman. All right.
Happy Canada Day, bonne fête Canada! Merci à tous. Thanks everybody.